How's it going, everyone? My name is Stephen Micheals. Welcome to the Raiders Daily Podcast, the number one Raiders podcast in the world. All right, we're going to get right to it. Let's talk about training camp. It's just around the corner. It's in a week. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but, looking at the roster, you can kind of tell who's going to make this team and who's not going to make this team, but I'm more interested in the battles that are going to take place. For example, we could start off with the quarterback position. Obviously, Derek Carr's the quarterback. Who will be the backup? The Raiders did release Landry Jones. That leaves you with Mike Glennon and Nathan Peterman. So, we'll see what happens there. For all we know, the Raiders, it's John Gruden, so he could be bringing in another quarterback at any time to compete for that backup spot. Then you got the wide receivers. I've said this before, they are loaded at wide receiver. I mean, completely loaded. You got Antonio Brown that obviously is going to be the number one. Then you got Tyree Williams. Then you got Ryan Grant. Then you got Hunter Renfrow, who, remember, they drafted. Marcel Aitman. I mean, there's so many wide receivers on this team. It's crazy, really. It's insane how many wide receivers they have on this team. And I've said this before. I honestly believe the Raiders have the best wide receiver group in the NFL. I really, truly believe that. I mean, these names are just... it's crazy. That's the only really thing you can say about it. It's crazy. Having Antonio Brown and Tyree Williams on the same team, that's nuts. Hunter Renfrow, the sky's the limit for that guy. You got so many guys. Obviously, you got J.J. Nelson. We'll see what happens with him. Ryan Grant. And also, just to throw another name in, a guy who's under the radar, went undrafted for who knows what, no one knows why, Keelan Doss. I think this guy is going to creep in there and really make a case to make this 53-man roster. So guys like Keon Hatcher, I don't see making the team. Now, guys like Sidney Blacknell, he is going to be pushed. He is going to be pushed big time. You can't keep 12 wide receivers on your roster. And remember, they have Dwayne Harris, who's listed as a wide receiver, but more of a kick returner. But still, he's going to have that. He's going to be part of the depth chart. So it's going to be interesting how that all unfolds. Like I said, Antonio Bryant, 1. Tyree Williams, number 2. After that, you can make a case for Ryan Grant at 3. Then maybe Hunter Renfrow at 4. Then after that, I'm telling you, it's wide open. It's wide open. So a guy like J.J. Nelson, who just signed, remember, this free agency, he's not safe. Don't think just because they signed a guy this free agency that he's automatically going to make the team. That is not the case. Now, J.J. Nelson has the speed, but his problem has always been his hands, catching the football. If that, training camp starts and this guy's dropping passes in preseason and camp battles and things like that, he's going to be out the door, and Keelan Doss will take his job. So, also in the news, the Raiders signed Richie Incognito. Yes, another crazy person. This team is just loaded with crazy people. They're perfect for Hard Knocks. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But Richie Incognito, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. He might be suspended for 8 games for all we know. He has not been disciplined by the NFL yet. He hasn't got anything back. This guy did some crazy things at his father's funeral, I guess. There's multiple things this guy has done. So we'll see how that all unfolds. But they needed a guard. That's what it comes down to, is they needed a guard. They have Denzel Good. I don't think they were completely sold on him. That's why Incognito's in there. And if he can play, if there is no suspension, let's say the NFL says go ahead, and play, then, there's a battle you got to look out for. Incognito versus Denzel Good. who is going to take that left guard spot. That is going to be a key battle right there. The offensive line, there's a ton of guys there that could make this team, that could not make this team. You know, you got a guy like Denver Kirkland. Will he be part of the plans in 2019? Remember, I can't stress this enough, guys. John Gruden wants to win with his own players. Then we go to the tight end position. Now, this is going to be interesting. Why? Because we don't know about Luke Wilson. That is the wild card out of all this. And another guy, too, I'll get to. But Luke Wilson, he hasn't played great in a couple of seasons. Last time he played great was when he had Tom Cable there in Seattle. So, if this guy can play good, that will be really great for the Raiders. Now, you also got Darren Waller. Darren Waller, I mean, this guy has all the tools to be an awesome tight end. Let's see if he can put it together in training camp and be that guy. Also, they got Derek Carrier on their roster. I see Derek Carrier as a guy that could get cut. I really do. The money situation, the Raiders can go ahead and cut this guy, save $1.7 million with zero dead cap if they cut Derek Carrier. It just seems logical to me to cut him. I mean, he really didn't do anything last season. Like I said, you got Darren Waller there. You got Luke Wilson there. And you also drafted Foster Moreau, sorry. So, and you also got Paul Butler. Paul Butler might be the guy, unfortunately, that does not make the team since you got so many tight ends. I mean, how many tight ends are they going to carry? And I don't think they're done, by the way, at the tight end position. By the way, they did bring in Eric Swoop. We'll see how he does at tight end. But still, I don't think they're done adding. I really think they'll be adding another tight end into the mix as we go forward in training camp. And remember, they will be waiving players and signing players. You know, that's going to happen throughout training camp, obviously. And the running back situation, obviously Josh Jacobs is going to start despite what John Gruden tells the media. Doug Martin probably be the second back, and then it comes down to Jalen Richard, Chris Warren, and DeAndre Washington. Should be fun. I think DeAndre Washington is the guy that might be on the outs here. I really do. And I hope he is, because I have seen enough of DeAndre Washington, and that's my personal opinion. I want to see more of Chris Warren. Now, I know blocking was a big issue for him last season. In preseason, he was awesome in preseason, but blocking was a big issue. They were worried about that, you know, for protections and things like that for Derek Carr. So if this guy can improve in that area, I mean, man, he looked like a star in preseason, but remember, you don't want to get caught up in preseason hype. If you remember, it was just a few years ago when GA3, George Atkinson III, was out there destroying in preseason. Everyone thought this is going to be the next great running back. Turns out the guy was just a preseason hero, and he really wasn't that great. It was just because he was playing in preseason. And most of the time, even the starters are not putting everything into preseason. You're just trying not to get hurt if you're a starter. You want to go out there, run someplace, not get hurt, get off the field, and then have the guys, the undrafted guys, and people like that go out there and compete. Remember, you can keep 90 players now throughout 4 games. So we'll see how that all unfolds. Like I said, Josh Jacobs, Doug Martin, Jalen Richard, Chris Warren. That would be my 4 running backs, if they keep 4 running backs, by the way. Like I said, you got these tight ends, you have all these wide receivers, you can only keep 53 guys on your roster on when the season starts. So there's going to be a lot of tough decisions to make. Also, another battle that you got to look out for. Keith Smith, fullback. The fullback spot right there. Now, they just waived Ryan Urachek. That is no surprise. I knew he wasn't going to make the team no matter what. So it's Keith Smith versus Alec Ingold. That is going to be a battle you're going to want to keep your eyes out for, because Alec Ingold, I'm surprised the guy went undrafted. To me, he was the best fullback in college football. This guy was really, really good. And Keith Smith, he's costing you $1.5 million. And if you cut him, there's zero dead cap. So think about that. Derek Carrier and Keith Smith combined is $3.2 million you could save just by cutting those guys. You can go out in free agency and sign 2 or 3 great players, or, good players, I should say, in free agency and bring them to this team and help out in different areas. And they do need help in a lot of different areas. Moving on to the defense, obviously your right defensive end will probably be Clinton Farrell. You got Josh Morrow there, Alex Barrett, and Vincent Mayowa. We'll see how that all unfolds. Like I said, and on the left side, you could probably move Vincent Mayowa over there. You still got Arden Key, who, by the way, did not look like he bulked up at all. You got Max Crosby, who has excellent feet, if you ever watched him. I think, if this guy, I think he can be a star. I really do. Looking at the guy, watching his film, Eastern Michigan, this guy he's really good. Now, will that translate to the NFL? We shall see. It's obviously, like I said, I'm not Miss Cleo over here. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I'm saying is, this guy, I think, can be really, really good. I encourage you to go to watch his highlights in college, Eastern Michigan. I believe that was school. Eastern Michigan. Go back, watch the highlights. You can find them on YouTube, or watch a full game. That's what I do, and I just isolate the player. Something you should really do. This guy really has tremendous footwork. He's really good at POAs, which is point of attack. He gets after the runner, gets after whoever has the ball. He's very good in that area. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Mad Max Crosby. All right, so that's the case for the defensive ends. The Raiders had a hard time last season getting after the quarterback. Now, they have some defensive ends. Like I said, they drafted Clinton Farrell. They drafted Max Crosby. You have Vincent Mayowa. You have Josh Morrow. So they're going to be able to rotate all of those guys. Then the inside, you got Mo Hurst. I think he's going to take a big step up this season. You also got P.J. Hall. Remember, this guy was a second-round draft pick last year. Second round. Now, listen, the Reggie McKenzie era is over, okay? All the bust. Taking people in the second round, they turn out to be terrible, and they're on wherever, some practice squad somewhere, they can't even make the team. That era has to be over now. When you take a guy in the second round of the draft, I expect that guy to be a star. If he's not a star, I expect him to at least be the starting defensive tackle, a guy who helps out the team, a guy that gets, 3 sacks a season, a solid player for years to come. I'm not expecting everyone to be a Pro Bowler, but in the second round, I expect these guys to be pretty damn good. Solid, good players in the second round. So, P.J. Hall, I expect that out of him. Like I said, Arden Key, he's another one that got drafted last year in 2018. He's so small. He didn't bulk up anything. That's why I have a feeling that Max Crosby's going to steal his job. And I really do. Now, let's look at the linebackers here. Very interesting in my opinion. Okay, Brandon Marshall is probably going to be your middle linebacker. Now, keep in mind, Jason Kambita, he can challenge him for that job. I think Jason Kambita has a lot of untapped potential there. I think he still makes the roster regardless, but I like him. I really do. Then when you go wide, you got Vontaze Burfict. We'll see if this guy has got anything left. You still got Tahir Whitehead on your team, and then you got guys like Nicholas Morrow. That's going to be interesting right there. You got Nicholas Morrow, and you also got, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name right now, Marquell Lee. Marquell Lee and Nicholas Morrow, it's no secret, those are guys that were selected by Reggie McKenzie. Now, I've been saying this on this show for quite a while now. John Gruden wants to win with his own players. That is not my opinion. That is a fact. Go look at what he has done since he arrived as the head coach. He looked at that roster and he said, these guys simply are not good enough. And he was right. Because go look at all of Reggie McKenzie's picks, like I stated earlier on the show, where they are now. Hell, Jylon Ware just got cut. He doesn't even have a team right now. I don't know where he played, Jets or Washington. I don't even know where the hell the guy was. But the team waived him, and he doesn't even have a team. Obi Melifonwu, I believe he's on the Patriots practice squad or special teams or something. These are guys that simply were bust. So, John Gruden doesn't think these guys are very good. So Nicholas Morrow and Marquel Lee, I'm telling you, watch out. You watch out. Because there are going to be guys that are on this roster. Tevon Coney, if that's how you say his name. Listen, he's there now. Koa Farmer, he's there now. Two guys that are looking, that Gruden is hoping, that can replace those guys. And like I said, Jason Kambita, I know Gruden likes them. They still got James Cowser, by the way, on the roster. They got Quentin Bell. Quentin Bell could be out there saying, hey, I'm going to be pushing Marquel Lee out of the picture. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen this season, although it could happen. But I'm just saying, it's true that Gruden wants to win with his own players. Now, you can't do that with every single position, obviously. You're going to have some kind of, a few players that are still going to play on this team that were here during Reggie McKenzie's era. It's impossible to turn around the entire roster in 2 years. It's almost impossible, even though that's what Gruden has been doing here. Not many guys left. I mean, you got Derek Carr, you got Gabe Jackson. You probably got about 12. I'm not going to count every single one up, but probably around 10 or 12. So anyways, moving on, like I said, Brandon Marshall, Vontaze Burfict, those seem like the linebackers there. We'll see going forward how it all unfolds. Like I said, if Marquel Lee ends up being a starter, I don't know. But I see Tahir Whitehead, Vontaze Burfict, and Brandon Marshall being those starters. And then we'll see. Maybe Koa Farmer, maybe Quentin Bell end up being really awesome, and they're pushing for playing time. Does Vontaze Burfict even still have it? The guy's older now. Does he still have gas in the tank? He's only signed to a 1-year deal for a reason. We'll find out. Then when you look at the cornerback position, Garyon Conley. This guy has to step it up this season. He's going to have competition. There's no doubt about that. He is going to have competition. Remember, the Raiders drafted Trayvon Mullen. They got Daryl Worley, who they really like. They got Nick Nelson from last season. They brought in Curtis Riley, a free agent. They got Isaiah Johnson now. And of course, you got guys like Rico Gafford, who's, by the time this show airs, is probably going to be waived. The guy's waived. It seems like the Raiders brought that guy in and out like 20 times. But I don't know. Maybe it's all in my head. But anyways, Garyon Conley, I feel like will be the starter. And then, of course, obviously, you got Daryl Worley there. And we'll see what happens with Mullen. We'll see. Is he good enough to start right away? Or do they go with a guy like Curtis Riley? We'll find out. Then at safety, that's going to be interesting right there. Because LaMarcus Joyner, I think, is going to play free safety. Now, you got Jonathan Abram. They selected him in the first round. But Carl Joseph is the strong safety. Now, they're going to be playing a lot of three safeties anyways on this defense. This is the way Paul Guenther's defense works. So all three of those guys will probably be on the field in most cases anyways. Carl Joseph, Jonathan Abram, and LaMarcus Joyner. But the Raiders drafted Jonathan Abram to replace Carl Joseph. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. There's a reason why they did not place the 5th-year option on Carl Joseph. There's a reason why they've been trying to trade the guy for 2 seasons. John Gruden, like I said, he's going to tell the media and the reporters stuff that's just not true. Remember, he was praising Amari Cooper 20 minutes before he traded him. So, you got to remember that. You can't take everything what John Gruden says. You got to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, he's lying most of the time. He's trolling most of the time. So just remember that. I think Carl Joseph, you put him out there and you hope that he balls out, has the best season of his career, because remember, he's going to be looking for a payday next season. If it's not with the Raiders, which it won't be, it will be with another team. So he wants to get paid. So this is usually when a player is looking for a payday, he plays his best football. So hopefully that's what the Raiders get out of that. Now, like I said, we'll see how this all unfolds, how the rookies do. And all of this, look at the punting battle. Johnny Townsend versus A.J. Cole. A.J. Cole, baby. We will find out. Because Johnny Townsend sucks. That guy was terrible last season. I bet you A.J. Cole can beat him out. I bet you I could beat him out, to be honest. I think I could kick a football 20 yards. That's what Johnny Townsend did last season. The guy was terrible. Maybe he got better. I don't know. But the guy sucked. Definitely got to have a kicking battle there. They got Daniel Carlson as their field goal kicker. He did good last year. Hopefully he doesn't all of a sudden come off the rails and have a terrible year this season. But the punting battle is more important in my opinion. So anyways, now the other, let's address the big elephant in the room. That is Hard Knocks. We all know the Raiders more than likely look like they're going to be selected for this thing. I hope they don't. I really do. I hope they do not get selected for it just because, listen, I mean, Hard Knocks started, I think, around 12 years ago. When it first came out, they didn't have all these rules about, you had to be a bad team. You had, all of this stuff. They just chose teams. So, when it first came out, they had, I think Baltimore Ravens were the first team. They came in with a 12-4 record after appearing on Hard Knocks. They had a 10-6 record. So it's a weird thing because, some of these teams who appear on this show end up being either the same or really bad. That's just the way this works. So we're going to find out. I hope they're not on this show. I think it disrupts everything what the coaches are trying to do, especially in 2019. It was different back, in 2001. So I don't like this at all, to be honest with you. I hope they don't get chosen. I know it'll be fun for the fans, obviously. But, like I said, I mean, it hasn't really done anything for these teams. 2017, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In 2016, they were 9-7. They appeared on a show in 2017. They went 5-11. Okay, and then 2016, the Los Angeles Rams. They were coming off a 7-9 season. They appear on a show. They go 4-12 that season. Houston Texans. They were 9-7 when they appeared on a show. Then, after the show, they were 9-7. The Atlanta Falcons in 2014. 2013, when they got chosen, after they were 4-12, then they get chosen. They appear on Hard Knocks. No, they improved. They went 6-10. I mean, you see where I'm going here. I mean, teams just don't get better. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in a long time. You gotta go all the way back to 2013. And this isn't even that much of an improvement. This is, I guess before all the rules, I'm assuming. So you had the Cincinnati Bengals, 2012. They went 10-6. They had chosen for Hard Knocks, and then in 2013 they go 11-5. So there is they got a little bit better. And the same thing for the Miami Dolphins in 2012. they were 6-10. They get chosen for Hard Knocks, and then in 2012 they go 7-9. So none of these teams are, they're not getting tremendously better. It's just not happening. So, I get nervous. I get nervous when I hear about the Raiders possibly appearing on Hard Knocks. I mean, look at the Dallas Cowboys in 2008, all the way back then. Okay? I mean, this is a team that was 13-3 in 2008 when they got chosen to do Hard Knocks. 13-3. And then they were on Hard Knocks. And then they went 9-7. They went 9-7. I mean, like I said, though, that was back in the day when you didn't have all these rules saying, because nowadays, if you're a playoff team, you're not even eligible for Hard Knocks. If you make the playoffs, you don't have to worry about Hard Knocks. I know John Gruden does not want to do Hard Knocks. I know the Raiders don't want to do it. I do think it would be fun for the fans, even though that show now, they just foul undrafted free agents. But Antonio Brown would do the show because that guy's always selling something. He would be wearing a shirt with a sponsor on it or something. Those guys are always trying to sell something. Brandon Marshall just spoke about it recently on NFL Network. He even said he would like more camera time, which means he would be selling something. Wearing some kind of shirt on the show or something. But mostly nowadays, the show, if you watch in the last couple of years, all they do is focus on undrafted free agents and follow them around. That's all they do. But, I mean, I forgot who wrote the article. It might have been Danny Amendola, I believe, wrote an article about being on Hard Knocks. And, wow, the way he describes it, it sounded like hell. They were putting microphones and salt shakers just to hear what players are talking about. Like I said, it could be damaging to a team, especially when you have a John Gruden. Yes, he's a TV star, but now he's a coach. He says some things that could probably land him in trouble nowadays. The way players talk, they got to be careful the way they talk. I mean, I was just watching a Raiders YouTube thing with Brinston Buckner, their defensive line coach. He was telling players, I'm wearing the microphone. This is for just the Raiders YouTube. He's got to be careful what he says. But you don't want that. It's just another distraction. And the last thing this team needs is another distraction. You already got the distractions the last year in Oakland. You got Antonio Brown. You got Vontaze Burfict. You got Richie Incognito. You already got a ton of that. Okay? In the outside world, at least. It may be fine inside. Those guys seem to be getting along just fine. But on the outside, the media distractions, you already got all that. I don't think this team needs it on HBO. Yes, do I think it will be fun for fans? Yes, just because of the undrafted free agents and things like that. But I think ultimately it has not helped any team lately. So that's just my opinion on it. You guys, I don't know. You can have your own opinion. I just want this team to win. That's all I care about is winning. I'm not one of the Raider fans that say win, lose, or tie BS. No, I don't believe in that. Sorry. I don't believe in losing or tying. I believe in one thing, and that's winning. I'm always thinking about winning, and maybe that's why I'm the best in the world at doing these Raider shows. Maybe that's why I'm the best. Maybe that's why this podcast is the #1 Raiders podcast. Because I don't even have a shred of thinking, I don't care if my numbers aren't great. I don't care if they're tied with someone else. No, I want to kill everyone. I want to win the ratings war. I want to be the best in the business. And the team I cover, I want the Raiders to be the best team in the National Football League because when they're good, I'm good. Because fans are happy, which means they listen more. They're engaged more. It's better for me. And what's better for me is better for you. That is the Raiders winning, and they have the talent this season to win. Like I said, I'll say it again. This team can go as far as Derek Carr can bring them. I believe he's good enough to get this team to win. I really do. I think he's good enough to bring this team to a Super Bowl. I believe it. I've seen glimpses of this guy being really great. If you can put it all together, and this team can play good enough on defense, the talent is there for the offense to compete in the AFC West. But Derek Carr must do what has eluded him his entire time as the quarterback of the Oakland Raiders, and that is going into Arrowhead and beating the Kansas City Chiefs. That is winning in cold weather. That is winning in December and winning in November, in the later months. That's what he has to do to be the franchise quarterback for years to come. This team cannot win 4 games again. That is unacceptable. That's unacceptable for John Gruden. That's unacceptable for Derek Carr. That's unacceptable for this franchise. I'm sick of the losing. It's time for the winning. That's all I got to say. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. My name is Stephen Micheals. I will see you guys probably in about a month, to be honest with you, when there's more activity going on. Maybe halfway through training camp we'll do a show. But until then, I will see you later. Thank you for listening. This is the #1 Raiders podcast in the world. This is the Raiders Daily.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.